Stay grinding herb on the herb and the Tijuana brass for that ass. Oh man, I got a bite. Oh no, it's one of those Peruvian mosquitoes. My skin looks bumpy and lumpy. Head bone, yeah, that's me.
Coasting, I'm boasting that I'm ghosting, staring at the ocean, going through the motions, work then sleep, then work then sleep, then back home, and in between a healthy dose of camel-made tobacco. That's facts though, cause my life it always seemed irrelevant. I'm not intelligent, so to my health I say the hell with it. My mind's fucked, so I made my tomb to match it. You find it tragic, but I just need the roots to crack it. The surface, my purpose, so why am I feeling worthless? Staying at the churches and scrolling through my curses. I'm hurt, bitch. Can't you see these inner scars? But no, you left me to die in maze with minotaurs. So these feelings are ripped and tattered and torn to shreds. Sleeping on this free couch, I can't afford no bed. Ignore this head, he's claiming the statements that preposterous. Threw all my panties down the well and never even got the wish. And never even got the wish. I ain't never even got that wish. Yo. Check, yo. Take it to my crack, and then I go and polish it. I couldn't finish college cause I ran into that wall again. We all pretend we always see the deepest in astonishment. I'm sitting on this ottoman just hoping I'm not falling into deep depression cause I don't need that. Pouring so loud and I just want some honest feedback. So please act according to plan, not if you understand. I'm just a broken man too proud to take a helping hand. I hope to take a stand and span throughout the vacant lands. My time is ancient sands running through an hourglass. And I was past, still feeling like a bag of trash. I pumped the gas to the Acura, it ain't that fast. Don't want another crash, just want a chance to succeed and extend the other branch to the fans. Make a few tracks that smack inside a jam, and maybe take a year off and cool it in Japan.
I thought it was go time already, man. I was getting tight already. I didn't know we were recording already. No, sorry. Okay. So just go. Alright. Shout out to Moses, man. Moses would be like a ride on a riding a camel. I just want him to know, there's not just two camels in that desert. There's three. There's a third more quiet camel. But he's there. And his name's Moses.
And his name's Spoop Moses.
His name's Spoop Moses. What's good?
I like the beat to that song. It's hard.
It's a fucking good
Hell
song.
yeah. Almost all of his beat. I've never heard a weak beat from him or Moth Moses.
Yep.
Or, yeah.
Oxnard
Or
California.
J-Ox. Even his... Yeah, we do, for real.
We got the talent, baby.
Eye Candy? Do you know? Have you ever heard
I haven't heard any of the music, but I've been retweeting all their shit ever since they put out this new little tapey wavy.
They were... When we were doing Steady Fast, they were... I think that's right when they were starting and doing stuff. So they've been... I don't know if they've done like hiatuses, but I'm pretty sure they've been playing for like 3 or so years. So.
Vocally?
Yeah, they're I forgot because I don't know. Oh no.
Isn't it Cameron? Is his name?
I don't know any of the people in the.
Anyway, shout out Eye Candy.
Yeah, no, it's really good, and yeah, we just have so much talent.
Yep.
So much different, so many different genres in our city.
Yeah.
We play them all here on Spoop Podcast.
Spoop
Fuck
Podcast.
yeah. Only place you can find them all. Sorry. Michael's lit up off hookah fumes.
Michael's secondhand high.
I got gassed out in the garage.
Hey, okay, that.
What?
Wait, hold on. Wait a minute.
I got blown out in the garage.
Michael, on National Holocaust Day.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. That's not today.
That fucking.
Didn't we do a podcast on National Holocaust Day?
I think we did.
We did.
I
know. I'm positive we did actually.
The fucking the battle rap that fucking Dustin showed us last night.
Oh god. You wanna give him context?
No, I'm not gonna.
Okay.
No, because
yeah.
That clip out of context is career ending.
in context, it's
Bing bing
career
bong
ending.
bong bing bing bing.
ZL Minty with the Prime sub for 3
Hey.
months.
Yep, you already know.
ZL Minty.
Everyone's week been good?
As good as it could be, just fucking working all the time. I'm
Yeah,
getting
I
to
feel
that
you on
point
that.
where I need a fucking break. I just feel like I need a cut like a week off or something just to like reset.
Yeah, seriously. Feels like with stuff reopening too, like all the businesses are like ramping up to like try to hire more people and just get more people on hours and stuff. You know, as we all know, that's going to be dangerous.
Yeah.
What about you, Michael? How's your week been?
Good. I've been sleeping a lot. Well, no, actually, this week I've been doing a lot of fucking homework. As of Thursday is when I stopped doing. Like, I finished everything, so I'm chilling till like for another week.
That's good.
I was getting lack of sleep. I wasn't sleeping enough. But yeah,
I've been sleeping enough, but I got to keep up on my. I've been waiting till like the last second. Like, that's good. You're getting
Yeah.
it done early. That's smart.
Yeah.
Even if you sacrifice some sleep, if you can get it back.
I've been commending Michael because everybody else is always like, "Oh, just wait till last second. And Michael's
Everyone's
always like,
giving me
"No,
shit for wanting to like stay up to date on my work and like.
When you do it
come
early,
on.
it's nice.
Hey, you're doing the smart thing. Don't let anybody tell you different."
What about you, Carlos? How's your week?
Am I allowed to have an opinion? I wasn't sure.
No.
Okay, good.
But you can have one if I tell you you can have one.
No.
How's your week though?
I mean, it's here. I'm chilling.
Nice. Yeah, it's been like a weird, especially. Well, it's gonna be our first. Maybe this is how we can kick it off. Like with that huge natural disaster, that being the snow that came down on a bunch of states, but really Oklahoma and Texas, and then the systematic failure of their electrical grid due to privatization and among other things. But yeah, we know that's left millions of people without power while it's super cold there. It's made people have to pay exorbitant rates for power, all kinds of different stuff. We've seen, some rank hypocrisy too. Like that thing blew up with Ted Cruz where he fucking
Fled to Cancun.
Yeah, he fled to Cancun, and then he's like, "Oh, I had to take my daughter," or some bullshit. Excuse.
Yeah, and then like today or yesterday, he tweets pictures of him helping like a
Dude, I
family, and he's
saw
like,
this.
Texas strong.
And it's him like lifting
Like a
crates
case of
like,
water.
Yeah,
Is this
what
on
a
Twitter?
No
Yeah.
Texan left behind.
And it's just him with his little fucking fat fupa.
And his
like,
dumb little fucking Texas mask.
Wait,
What a-
who? Just some guy, right?
Ted
Ted
Cruz.
Cruz.
Oh, Ted Cruz for real?
Yeah.
What a
Well, because
weirdo.
now he has to immediately, once he got caught flying to Cancun, he had to. It was all damage control after that, right? It's like, oh, hey, like he even said in like his press release, they were like, "Oh, I lost power in my house too, just like you guys," like bullshit like that.
Here,
Me
Carlos,
too.
click on this thing in staff I just sent and pull that up.
Yeah, dude. Like,
it's
and this is the other damage control thing is him like the photo ops with him like doing water and helping people.
serve some delicious Houston barbecue to firefighters. Local law enforcement yesterday.
Oh god. Like that's what they need to do.
Look at this little fucking dumb little sweatshirt. Oh fuck.
To think making like barbecue is his biggest impact when God.
Yeah,
Keep in
Jose
mind
even
he's
says
part
in
of the
chat. He says AOC raised $4 million. Ted Cruz carried some water bottles to a car. Like, yeah, it's true.
Well, even in like, what has Ted really done? Like over the course of his career, he's the reason why this disaster is so bad. It's like people like him are the reason why Texas is so hollowed out. And a disaster like this, even though it is like, as Steven says in his tweet, like unprecedented, like we still could have combated this and given everyone power or everyone at least heat and food.
Nationalize the utilities.
Yeah, we absolutely should, because shit like this is going to happen. People like Ted Cruz are going to and the industry, they're gonna, the major industry is gonna pay people like Ted Cruz to privatize the industries, and when it comes down to it, our major utilities are just gonna fail on us, and we can't have that.
Absolutely. Especially in states that are as big as Texas and continuously getting more and more population.
Can you click on some of these photos? They're pretty.
Oh yeah, just the first one's the best one.
Just him. So doctored, yeah. Goddamn.
Just a little chud.
Look at those masks or those gloves. I mean,
Black Mamba.
Rip.
I can't blame him. He's got he's got jungle fever.
Hell yeah.
And you just have just chud cops.
And he's not even giving water to like people that he said he's giving it to first responders and cops. Beautiful. Gotta love it.
Viper porn man, yes.
Viper Venom.
That's the only good thing he's ever done was put porn on the
Oh
timeline.
yeah, like
That's
the tweet. What a legend.
Wasn't it just some like super petite girl too?
It was like MILF porn.
Did he delete
Was
it?
it? Was it MILF
Yeah,
porn?
he deleted it. But like you can't. You're a fucking.
Or maybe it wasn't him that deleted it. It was somebody that was like his social media.
It could have been in
manager
his
or whatever.
staff, yeah. But
Still,
it's like you're a
right?
senator. That's just not gone, bro. You liked it. Someone's seeing that.
That's the only good thing he's ever done, and he fucking tried to cover it up.
That's not true. Have you ever seen? The only other good thing he's done is I don't know if it's a video or a picture where he's at like the Museum of Butter or something, and he's like, "My kids love butter" or something like.
Oh yes.
Something
I
weird
fucking
like that. Like
I
my
remember
daughter's
that.
favorite thing is butter, and there's like a cow made of butter there, like a. See if you can find. Maybe we should watch that one too. That one is fucking
I am
nuts.
on my fucking way, dude. I found it.
It's cretins. Keeping to the point though, it's cretins like this that
Butter
fucking.
dog.
Wow, a cow
Love
made
this
of butter.
situation.
My
Wow.
girls would love it. In fact, the first sentence Caroline ever said was, "I like butter."
Look at that picture, bro. So that's a lie. There's no way the first thing your daughter ever said is I
Well,
like butter.
it is Texas.
Yeah, that's true. And it is
This isn't.
Ted Cruz's daughter too.
Yeah, he looks so gross. I mean, he's gross now.
Look how buttery he looks there.
Exactly.
He looks buttered.
He's gotten fatter. He let the beard get to him. He got fat.
What do you mean?
The
This
beard
is
thing was
the
horrible
Museum
too.
of Butter, where it's we got the butter cow, we have butter Ted Cruz.
Oh yeah, this
Butter
isn't
dog.
real. It's
Dog with
just
butter
a
on his
butter
ear.
made Ted Cruz.
Wait, scroll down a little bit, Carlos. Do a little bit more to the first reply. Oh, never mind. On my screen, it says somebody with a TF2 clip, and it's like, "Hey, Ted Cruz, you like my TF2 clip?"
Yeah, bro, he is not real whatsoever. He is completely weird looking.
Oh yeah.
Fucking, it's like.
And like
It's a
Ian pointed out
Zodiac.
the beard thing too, where he grew out the beard to try to look like more
Human?
not more that too, but more like
Less
hey, I'm an
cartoony.
everyman.
He literally looks like he came from like out of like a kid's.
He does
cartoon or
like
something.
goofy.
He looks,
Yeah.
he looks more like a country boy now.
Looks like a Lazy Town character.
I'd kill him. I mean,
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah.
in a video game.
In a video game.
In a video
yeah.
game.
In
In
TF2.
TF2.
In
Yeah.
TF2.
All right.
Uh,
I think we've gotten our shits and giggles in.
yeah. Let's
There'll be more though.
let's get more serious, I guess.
Yeah,
Wax
so
museum.
I think we've used Tom Hartman once, but he's a good source sometimes just because he's such a great resource. He has so many guests. He had the breakfast or brunch or whatever, brunch or breakfast with Bernie. He would do those all the time. This one here though is they're talking about the specific thing they're talking about in regards to Texas is the rising of the electricity rates and how it's gone from basically paying 9 cents per kilowatt hour to like $9 or something. So they kind of walk you through it, and the guy he's speaking to, I mean, his take I don't think is necessarily correct, but the information is so stark, and I think we can draw our own conclusions from it.
I had another question. I was reading in the Washington Post this morning that that some customers, some people who are electricity users in Texas were getting a notification that their electric bills were going up to like $8,000 a kilowatt hour or something like. I don't remember the measurement, the piece, but the prices were just spiking. How does that work?
Yeah, so something like that, right? So there is a cap for wholesale pricing, and that cap is $9,000 per megawatt hour, which would translate to about $9 per kilowatt hour on a bill, right? And it is true that on Monday, prices reached that cap. In fact, the state regulator, the Public Utility Commission of Texas, actually stepped in and raised the price to meet that market cap of $9,000. And that makes sense at a time when demand is exceeding supply by a factor of 2, right? If there's not even enough energy to supply all of the needs in Texas, it would make sense that energy would be selling for the maximum price. Now, that does mean that purchasers of energy are going to have to pay more, and it does mean that some of that price is going to trickle down into people's bills. How that actually works is highly specific to you and your contract with your power provider. There are some people who have contracts that are directly linked to that wholesale price. So if the wholesale price goes up to $9,000, then your bill is going to show a similar proportional increase, and you may end up with a very large bill for the couple of minutes or hours that happens. Just like power producers make a whole lot, and in some cases a significant percentage of their money during those times of incredible price spikes, there are some pricing models for consumers that are going to have them paying most of their price when these very large spikes happen. Other people have contracts that smooth out the energy price a little bit.
So what I meant by drawing our conclusions is like, hey, like we talk about all the time, the profit motive is not tenable here. Like, if we have an energy problem and we can't provide power to people, the solution isn't to create a scheme where we try to vulture off of people by, we're like, hey, we know in these hours that people are going to be without power and we can't supply it, and we can rip them off the most at this hour. So that's going to be our profit model. We're going to actually seek to make that happen. Mm-hmm. So what can we reason from this? That these companies aren't going to invest in actually building energy infrastructure because it's profitable for them, those things to fail, because that's their fucking business model. So like Ian said in the beginning, like if these things were all just public utility and we all own these things, like, and the profit motive wasn't a factor, and we had no energy and people had no energy in their homes and they were going to be cold and die, we would just say, hey, we need to provide more energy. Let's build more. It's insane.
No, yeah, like the answer is quite, it's like literally just so simple.
Yeah.
We have this issue, the private market, it's obviously failed for decades and decades and decades. All we have to do is give it to the public, take public ownership of it, and we'll fix the issue. It's just like the healthcare system. It's
because
crumbling.
we can't make an effort to invest in our infrastructure and energy because he made the reasoning from it. It's not profitable to. For it to fail is literally their business model. So, and their business model is killing people. Make no mistake about it. There's people that have died because energy companies have decided to leave people without power.
No, yeah, it's disgusting, and yeah, and honestly, I can only see it getting worse because we don't really have a solution. We don't have any. We don't have any like strong counters to this right now.
Right. Here's a thought, like, you remember, like, right in the beginning of like the recent rent crisis, like in the early summer and stuff, before any of the stimulus talk, really, there was a lot of organizing happening between people against because the pressure was really being felt. People thought they were going to be evicted, like in the next week, the next month.
Yeah.
So people were organizing in their buildings, and something like that, and a lot of that was being tied to the Bernie campaign in a way too. A lot of that energy and momentum. So when that died, a lot of that died as well.
Yeah,
along
and
with the pandemic.
during this whole COVID thing, I've seen more, more like attempts at like I've seen more like tenants unions,
Right.
like accountants and whatnot than like ever before. But yeah, it's very interesting to see, and like
That's
yeah,
the
when
solution. That's the pressure
yeah,
we need.
that's absolutely the solution. But people get pushed so close to the edge that they instinctively get it. They realize
Right.
that the real answer is getting together with the people that you're in your community and fighting back.
Some people I think are recognizing that, like in Texas, like. Oh, go ahead, Michael.
Putting pressure on them is very important, and as it just pressures them into doing something that we want. And I feel like a lot of people are misunderstanding that, and that we need to be taking the initiative to take those steps. Like we should be not. I'm not saying that we are 100% responsible. They're controlling the whole fucking thing, but we, as a whole, should be pressuring them. It shouldn't be the other way around. We shouldn't have to be pressured to be evicted or to lose our power and suffer because of that. Like it's fucked up. Like we should be the other way around. We should be pressuring them into making a change for the good, and not being off of this profit motive that all these companies seem to be on. So, kind of what my take on it.
Yeah, well said.
Well, especially with these like private industries where it's something like a public utility or like a basic utility where it's almost a guaranteed market you're going to have. It's not like you're creating some niche product that may or may not fail. You're giving people energy. Like, yeah, people are always going to be purchasing power from you. It's like there's no question about it. It's just what are you going to do about that circumstance?
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. I think people are realizing that though, that they need to put that pressure is necessary because, like I was gonna say, like in Texas, everything's failed, dude. Like, imagine you just see like your whole neighborhood is like snowed in and nothing, like no one has power for like a week or something. Like, and the only thing that's coming out to help people are like mutual aid programs, local tenant unions, like people actually just working together and organizing from the ground up in their community.
Yeah, and when your senator is out going to Cancun, you have a senator from New York raising money to help you out,
Right. That's it, because it's an entirely different mindset. Like we're building something different.
Yeah.
And Michael said it's that ground up pressure, 100%. That's the most important part.
Absolutely.
Does anyone have any final thoughts on the Texas situation, or can we move?
I'll just leave it at this. It reminds me like the whole artificial scarcity argument that that private ownership creates, where if you give them the means of an entire market, then they can just artificially cap it off and create scarcity to drive up prices.
Yep. Diamonds?
Yeah, so instead of improving the energy infrastructure to get more power out to people when they need it, or to get better power out to people at a more affordable price, there's no interest to do that.
Right. Exactly. So they just maintain that scarcity because it's what's profitable, or the illusion that there's a scarcity, even because it seems to be that they can get power to most shit. They probably can get power to fucking Ted Cruz now. But it seems like they can't get it to, all the poor working and, everyday people of Texas.
I also can't imagine how many generators have been running in Texas now.
Just
because I remember when we had a bunch of winds going on here, not even too long ago, there was this strong ass winds, and everyone's power was going out, and my dad would get a bunch of calls from clients saying, "Hey, we need generators. Hey, we need generators. Hey, we need generators. Can you install a generator?" He was going all over Ventura County and even out of the county, going to all these shops trying to find generators, and they're all sold out within the day. And somewhere like Texas, I mean, I'd assume a lot of people in Texas have generators. They would probably be more prepared than we are, because that doesn't really happen as often here. But I mean, it shouldn't happen at all generally. But all these people are like probably on generators trying to, and a lot of people can't afford generators. Yeah, a lot of people cannot afford generators. Also the gas that it contributes.
Spending the money on the gas, it's exorbitant. You can't afford to do that.
Of course, yeah. And geez, dude, generators are expensive, or at least really good ones to power your home. Yeah, it's an investment. It's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Do you ever just wake up?
Have you been looking in on generators, Mike?
Well, no, I'm just saying, because a lot of people can't afford this stuff. So I'm like,
I know,
I'm thinking like in Texas, like
most people probably, I think
most people don't even have that.
Power.
They don't have a refrigerator now. Like their food is going spoiled, or like now they don't have food, and now they need like AOC was raising money, or it's something like that, you know?
Yeah, imagine you have no money. Like you don't have a fridge, so you don't have a can of cold food. You don't have, you might not have running water. You might not have the ability to flush your toilet. Any of this shit, like.
I don't necessarily know if AOC was raising money.
No, she was.
Was she? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just threw a name out there because I thought, but yeah, I mean, just my point is like a lot of people a lot of people are on the verge of just like total collapse.
Yes, it's real suffering.
Not good.
Yeah. I think we should always. That's maybe something we should talk about. Like we always focus big time on. It's good to talk about suffering specifically because it's something we have to relate abroad and here. I think we do all the time.
Yeah.
It's something that ties us all together as humans, whether you're in Palestine or whether you're in Standing Rock or something. All right, let's move to the next thing. And I think, like Texas, this is a disaster that's still happening, but we only talk about it not in like a specific segment now. Like we only just allude to COVID as like an attachment to everything now. Like with every segment, we're like, oh yeah, plus COVID. Like, but we never have like a COVID segment anymore. And so I thought this would be good because we do status coup videos all the time, and Jenn Dize, I think, is one of their premier journalists, does good work all the time, and one of her big pieces of work is the Flint water crisis, and just the work she's done as like a human is amazing. Like speaking of suffering, like the stuff they've shown in the Flint water crisis is on parallel with some of the worst shit the government's ever done. But she got COVID from a Giuliani meeting that she covered. She got it from Giuliani's son, believe it or not.
I thought it would be Giuliani giving it to her.
Well, he had it too, but who knows? Either way, she got it, and she's been in and out with it. And she's what they call like a long hauler COVID patient, which means basically the symptoms keep coming back. She has like horrible fever, body aches. I'll let her tell the story, maybe like a trigger warning before, because it is kind of shocking and heartbreaking because it literally just looks like she's uploading it from her bed or something. And yeah, but I think it's important to talk about this because it's the long-term effects of COVID are unforeseen, really. What?
So a new study from the University of Washington shedding some new light on what's called post-COVID syndrome. It found a staggering number of 30% of the people with mild COVID-19 symptoms are still battling those symptoms months later.
Last time I spoke to you, I thought 6 months later that I would be doing cartwheels down Madison Avenue or something. I've been on steroids, I have been on anti-inflammatories, I have been on antivirals, and nothing is fixing it. These people aren't just suffering from fatigue or malaise or whatever, but they actually have a very real disease.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN, reporting.
So, I just, I'm sorry, this will be hard for me to get through. I just turned on CNN because Jordan told me they were about to do a segment on long haulers, on COVID long haulers. And this is as of basically today or in the next few days. This is month 3 after I got COVID. If you guys will remember, I got COVID when I reported at the Rudy Giuliani conference when he was pushing election conspiracy theories along with Sidney Powell and others. And I called him out on that.
You alleged that Donald Trump has won by a landslide. We've seen that a lot of your lawsuits and in fact lawyers have been kind of dropping like flies. What do you say to those people who call this a Russiagate 2.0?
During the press conference, and then it was later revealed that his son had COVID, and then several others ended up getting COVID from that press conference, including me. I don't want to rehash all of that. I've done videos on that, but here we are. That was back in November. That conference was November 19th. It's now, I think it's February 20th. Yeah, it's February 20th. And I'm not better. I'm obviously, you know, if you saw my videos, like, I can obviously talk now. When this first happened, my shortness of breath was so bad I couldn't really talk, and things were obviously much worse back then. But now with my long hauler symptoms, I have a lot of ups and downs. I'm bedridden, like.
We could pause it there. Because, I mean, she goes on too to talk about that, like, when she first got it, she had to quarantine because, you know, you have COVID, you know, you could spread it, so she was completely isolated, couldn't see her kids for Christmas, New Year's, any of that shit. Did eventually get to see him because she, you know, with the whole long hauler thing, she like began to feel better. And then, you know, a day or two after seeing them, immediately starts having like a full-on fever again. So that means like, all right, you can no longer see your kids right now, nor do you have the energy to.
Yeah.
I just thought that was important because we cover this shit all the time, so it's like we can't just not like acknowledge that.
Totally. And like not only like the physical, but like how emotionally draining that has to be.
Yeah, no shit. Like imagine
especially having kids.
Yeah, fuck. Like you can't see your kids or your family, and you gotta be doing this on your own for months. Like, yeah, and yeah, you don't know. Like that other guy that was talking in the short clip in the beginning. Like he's on different steroids and stuff. Like you don't know the full effects 6 months down the line. What could be happening to you?
Yeah, and every case is different because, you know, everybody gets different amounts of the virus when they're exposed.
Now there's variants too because we've bungled this so much when it didn't have to be like this.
Yeah.
So it's just so sad, like, because I've seen her, like, I've watched her on YouTube on this channel for years as a reporter, or at least since they started, like 2019, I think, 2018. And it's like, fuck, like, it could happen to anyone.
No,
Crazy.
absolutely.
I mean, she wasn't a special circumstance being at Giuliani's press conference, but you know, every day people get it going to work, and the same shit could happen to you. And even you know, she's lucky that they have like, you know, kind of a income where they can. Jordan can report and she can make an income off of this. It's like, imagine if you're a essential worker or something and you get COVID, like
Yeah, you're
long
fucked.
haul COVID. Yeah, you can't be in bed for 3 months. Like, so
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that's all.
Well, plus it also is a reminder of how when we always talk about like the death toll numbers, it's only just a small fraction of the actual suffering that's been inflicted on people due to the virus.
Yes. Like Michael was pointing out with the generators, like there's layers. People could be like, hey, we don't, like, it's economic, it's physical. There's so many different layers.
But also, you remember one of the stories we covered a long time ago was how in like a Goldman Sachs memo, they were advising a lot of their what do you call it, like clients, so to say, about investing in medical treatment, not like medical cures. And because treatments are a lot more long-term profitable business venture. So think about how many people also have to suffer the consequences of those kind of decision making as well, where they have to live with these conditions and they can only just treat them, you know, so that they don't have to bear the brunt of like the most harsh like parts of their conditions, instead of actually being able to like take something and say in like a few months be cured of it. And now they just have to suffer with it for the rest of their lives for money.
Yeah, and like another layer to that is we also covered a story not too long ago about how water shutoffs across the country have led to over 15% of the COVID deaths in total, just from shut off of like water and other utilities.
Really?
Yep. So yeah, it's more than just
things get lost.
Yeah.
Water.
Yes, people, they shut off people's water.
That's why it's so disgusting that the profit motive is embedded in these things, and we have to get rid of it because it's literally it's killing fucking people. And now we're seeing it on like mass scales as our systems fail.
It's rotting out society.
Absolutely. I think with that we can move on to our next piece.
Yeah, let's move to our
Amazon
section.
Yes, which is the reason why I titled the episode this. Which will make
Bezos
a little
pee kink.
Yeah, it'll make a little bit more sense when I get into it.
We're about to learn who Bezos likes to pee on.
Yes. So, let me just burp really quick. Excuse me. All right. So, this piece from The Verge here. The title reads, Amazon changed traffic light timing during Union Drive, county officials say. As part of its ongoing fight over an Alabama warehouse efforts to unionize, Amazon reportedly changed the timing of a traffic light outside the warehouse, according to reporting by More Perfect Union. Union organizers at the site, had previously accused the company of altering the timing so the pro-union workers were not able to canvass workers while stopped at the light. Until recently, the altered timing on the traffic light outside the factory had been dismissed as a rumor. But More Perfect Union confirmed that with Jefferson County officials that last year, Amazon notified the county of traffic delays during shift changes and asked for the light to be changed. On December 15th, the county increased the green light duration in an effort to clear workers off the worksite faster. There's no indication that the county was aware of the ongoing organizing drive or any effect that the traffic light changes may have on the effort. Which is crazy to think about, that a company can just tell the city, like, hey, change the timing of this light just for us. And it just happens.
Shows the power they have.
And then before I continue, do you want to pull up the first link from the Twitter clip, the More Perfect Union? It should be and it's a video. Yeah, let's go ahead and watch that really quick.
Even
It's like a 2-minute video or 3-minute video. Oh yeah.
When they go use the restroom and close the door behind them, they have something up there saying vote no against the union.
Amazon actually had the city to come out there and recalibrate the red lights so they can stop and chat with us.
They are coming and stopping us from working, doing our jobs, to basically ram the information in our heads about why we shouldn't have a union.
The kind of union bust that I've been seeing from Amazon has been very far-fetched.
I want to say around the first week in November, that's about the time they hired their union busters to try to disrupt everything, to try to confuse disinformation, et cetera, et cetera.
I think they pretty much scared because don't nobody want to lose their job.
Why are we being punished for trying to seek help? We are supposed to seek help when we feel like we are being mistreated.
Amazon actually had the city to come out there and recalibrate the red lights.
There was a truck across the field that had been sitting there for about 2 hours. And so we went over to him and he said, no guys, I'm just here to do a traffic study. Right there at our red light where we stand. And then they stayed there for the rest of that day. And from that day forward, those red lights were completely different.
And the reason they do that is when they come down the exit, that red light will turn green. And they have to keep going. So they can stop and chat with them.
A person might pull up and say, hey, can you answer this quick question for me? By the time she gets that out of her mouth, the light has changed green that quick.
Caused an accident since we've been out there. Big Mike almost got hit.
2 cars crashed and jumped up on the block while I was standing there.
Big Mike.
I had to literally jump off the block, get back up, and try to help the people to make sure they was okay. One young lady, whole front end of the car was off, so I was just luckily, by the grace of God, that I got out the way.
Every time we go to the bathroom in your stall, in the men bathroom, as soon as you go to the stall, you got an anti-union flyer right there in front of you. You got flyers in the break room. You got when you walking in and walking out, you got big banners saying early vote, vote no.
It really touched me in a way when they started having the classroom teachings about why we shouldn't have a union, because as a part of leadership, I didn't get the proper training that I needed.
They're taking people to numerous meetings a day.
Some of the younger people are kind of confused. They're afraid because Amazon told them in the meeting that if you get the union, your benefits will be taken away. It's just not true.
So, Amazon is plagued with that system.
They're scared.
And, they're not scared of us. They're scared of the people coming together and empowering yourself and finally saying enough is enough.
Amazon is moving in and they're dictating this. To me, it's like they putting their foot on their neck. They continually to keep them down, and that's not something that we're not gonna allow. The Black Lives Movement, we're not gonna allow that. The RWDSU, we're not gonna allow that. We're gonna stay here, we're gonna fight, we're gonna continue to help, we're gonna continue to fight and do whatever we think is necessary.
Yeah, so it just in like insane stuff from Amazon, which is nothing out of the ordinary. We talked about this a bunch of times. And then really quick, can you click on the next link that I sent, and it shows up close. It shows a screenshot of one of the texts that they've received, or to the text. And then and then just go ahead and click on them. A word from BHM1 leadership. We are a winning team, and we believe working together directly is most effective. Don't let outsiders divide our winning team. We don't believe that you need to pay someone to speak for you, or that you need to pay dues for what you already get for free. A word from BHM1 leadership. Did you know during a new union negotiation, no one can guarantee or predict the outcome of collective bargaining? Everything is on the table. You may end up with more, the same, or less than you already have today. For example, the union may accept fewer benefits in return for you taking dues directly out of your check and sending them directly to the union. This is called dues checkoff, and it's something unions routinely fight for because it makes it easier for them to take your money. And so yeah, like it's just Amazon straight up just doing whatever is in their power to just shove anti-union propaganda down your fucking throat. And then
you can't predict the outcome of collective bargaining and everything is on the table because capitalists are fucking scum. That's why.
And they'll do everything in their power to shut down the union.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, stop it before it happens.
Yeah, exactly. They're saying everything's on the table. Yeah, of course. You'll do everything to stop us. We agree.
And then do you just want to click on the last one really quick? And this is a up close of the picture that they have in the stalls of the bathrooms. And it's just big bold letters. Unions can't. We can.
They're literally brainwashing their employees.
Yes.
It's
And this
insane.
isn't even talking about the anti-union shit that they put in the training videos. Like I've had to watch that shit.
Right.
As an Amazon associate, you already have great rewards and benefits. Remember, everything you already have without giving away any of your hard-earned money to the RWSU. You already have healthcare, vision, and dental benefits, high wages, paid leave, 401k match, paid time off. And of course, that's only for full-time employees and only covers so much. Your wages are only as high as they are because they were forced through legislation by progressives like AOC and Bernie Sanders.
And the whole point is you have no means to bargain any of these
Exactly,
things.
and then you have no
Your
way
paid
of
leave is what it is. Your boss tells you what it is, and if you don't like it, you can fucking shove it. That's your option.
you have no way of getting together with everybody else and figuring out what you want.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny how, like, not funny, but just weird that, of course, all of these employees want to be unionized. They want, but Amazon is like pushing out these, like Ian says, propaganda, and like I say, like it's like brainwashing. But they make it sound like Amazon is making it sound like that their employees don't want to unionize, and they're just throwing out like this stuff in the stalls of like messages saying like, oh, well, say no to unionization and things like that, and like telling them all this like bullshit about like what it can and cannot do. But it's just, I just find it so weird that they make it sound like their employees don't want to unionize when they do. A large majority wants to unionize, if not all. So it's just weird.
That's the point. Like you can't go out and directly be like, we hate unions and don't form a union because that's illegal. So they have to make the messaging in a way to where you come to that assumption yourself with the language.
Well, remember, Ian, like you said earlier, we've covered this before. This is not, Amazon has hired not only the Pinkerton company, but like ex-NSA CIA analysts to spy.
Yeah, to go into like private groups and see what they're talking about.
So to think that they have like brainwash tactics on like pamphlets and bathroom stalls that are like Michael was saying in this strange language, it seems to reason. Like they have fucking CIA people working for them.
Absolutely.
And then the whole red light thing is super like crazy too. Yeah, and like, are those Amazon employees telling other Amazon employees like the message, or are they telling like the general public?
I think it's probably both.
The texts are usually, they have like an automated service. But probably like the store leader.
Michael meant
store leadership.
The people handing out the shit outside, right?
Yeah, like when there's a red light, they probably have a clicker to make the light turn green. But when the light is red and they are passing, like not passing out,
no,
but
those guys that are on the street are the union guys. And so what Amazon did was they went to the city and complained like about this fake issue about the lights. So when workers are leaving work, the light's more likely to turn green when they're at that stop, so they can just keep going instead of stopping and potentially talking to.
Oh wait, so those guys that are out in the street talking.
Yeah, they're like right outside the facility.
They're for unionization, or they're for it. So they're spreading messages Okay, I get it.
Yeah, because they have to do it outside of work.
They're trying to organize.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I thought it was the other way around, and I was like, that's super messed up. Like they're paying or like trying to get Amazon employees to turn against their other like employees. I don't know. Never mind. Yeah,
no,
I get it now.
They kind of did describe that too, though. They were talking about how like they've brainwashed a lot of the younger employees to think like, yeah, basically they can't get anything, no benefits or anything.
Yeah, it's pretty much like they realized that one of the tactics they were doing is going outside the workplace to talk to people about like these issues, and so Amazon must have realized that and went to the city and gave some BS reason to you gotta change it so the green light will come faster. Yeah, which as you see will cause more than just cause a lot of adverse issues.
Yeah, literally put people's lives on the line. Almost killed Big Mike.
Big Mike.
Right.
Yeah, and I thought that story was really important, just because it's just further showing how disgusting Amazon is and how many other stories we don't know about, not just from Amazon but other big corps.
No, I think the whole unionization like topic on Amazon is like such a unique, like interesting topic that I think should be heard. I just think it's like a fun thing to talk about too. It's just because it's just so like.
It's very interesting.
Like it's outrageously bad that Amazon is doing this, but it's good that there's a formation of or like organization that the employees want to unionize.
And so many, it's like when people were trying to do this drive, the same thing via Walmart. It's like so many people work for these companies now too, so it is like a really legitimate move to try to organize in the workplace to get unions in like Amazon. Like that's a huge move.
I mean,
you're fighting the richest guy on the planet.
Yeah, we're starting or whatever. Just looking at the stat, like in 2019, more than half, I think 54% or something like that, of all sales on the internet, all internet commerce came from Amazon. Yeah, Amazon literally made up half of all the sales on the internet, the whole internet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess this was super important. More importantly, fuck you, Leo. He said, "I hate you" in chat.
Just kidding. We love him.
I'm not.
He sent a purple heart.
I'm not.
No, yeah, love you, Leo. Well, fuck you. But yeah, with that though, I think we will get into our first break, or our break of the show. We're gonna go ahead and be right back, and then we have some interesting videos to show you guys when we do get back. So enjoy the song, and we'll be back shortly. Please stay.
Appreciate our beautiful viewers. Please stay.
Yes.
One day, shit, we ain't done. It's more licks, I thought you know, from the mighty sons. Round with the chopper and the AR. Lil' homie all goop, cause he off a bar. SOS, that's a gang, we in Oxnard. Cold City in the summer and it stay high. Toe tag, body bad, now they in a hearse. All bad, all sad, man, it's off a curse. Knee deep in the game, still committed dirt. Swing a switch to the face while I'm doing work. Late night on the block, fuck a boot burp. All black, no cap, shit don't say a word. Your homie all cap, cause he like the fucking birds. Big fista, he a lame, he a top the fold. And my mama, yeah, she told me always kept the word. God first, family second, then I got my foes. Pull up and there I'm out. Hop out and walk on down. It gets grimy in the south side of town. Scheming the money plots, catch us out on the block. We gon' ride until the wheels fall off.
Late night cruises, smacked off a beam, my niggas go stupid. Know what I mean, cause we all finna shoot shit. Clean up the scene, bounce out and we muted. Ayy, I'm a grimy motherfucker. 762's got you leaking like no other. You tryna act hard, but your hood don't even love you. Dipping through the city with my all-white Bezos. Tryna count them up, I'm in love with them pesos. Girl, close your mouth and do as I say so. Yeah, I'm hopping out in your hood, easy pay. payroll. Ducking from the fence, so you know I gotta lay low. Bitches hella weird, feel me? I had to say no. Bending through the corners, I don't even gotta say mo. Still pulling up, my liver can't take mo. SlumpBoyz shit, I think I gotta drink mo.
Pull up and there I'm out. Hop out and walk up now. It gets grimy in the south side of town. Scheming the money plots. That's just out on the block. We gon' ride until the wheels fall off.
Bandana on her face, dirty gun in stolen place. Bounced out, left a single white chalk and yellow tape. Heard that she passed away and we had to celebrate. Documented gang members, whole team got a case. My nigga running tanks, free player from the team. Pockets feeling empty, so I'm plotting another scheme. Photo letter 19, the nigga done hella dirt. Catch you with the wrong fitted cap and you on a shirt. And it's on the turf that we with the activities. Y'all hyping lame ass niggas gotta be shitting me. Me and your hoe got history, that's why some niggas hating me. Bet my niggas jumping in, ain't no catching face with me. Ain't none make believe, I'm speaking from experience. How you go from a bitch to a thug? Is you serious? Acting like you with a gunplay must be delirious. And your bitch ass niggas can't see my gang, period.
Pull up and there I'm out. Hop out and walk up now. It gets grimy in the south side of town. Scheming the money plots. That's just out on the block. We gon' ride until the wheels fall off.
See, I'm a Southside nigga, hit the corner of the eye with some Southside niggas, nothing changed. I'm doing fine, my nigga, when the spot get hot, I recline on niggas, don't stop. It's all the time, my nigga, and if I press on, that's your line, my nigga, cause you been a joint. That's on the game, my nigga, all the hundreds in the ever co-sign that nigga, but look, separate the facts, we don't get along. Yes, gang, Bronx, Terrace Ave, nigga, right or wrong. Fuck your will, where you from, nigga, so what? The other side, all friend niggas know what. See, one for cuz no love for no love, hoes down. Left side, and set the foes up, hold up. Fake things, they tryna roll up. Double back to sag to put the pose up.
Pull up and there I'm out. Hop out and walk up now. It gets grimy in the south side of town. Scheming the money plots. That's just out on the block. We gon' ride until the wheels fall off.
And Spoop.
We're back.
We're back. So I've noticed, Carlos
Okay.
pointed out correctly, when we don't talk about news, people love to show up.
Yeah, it's true.
We should have a segment where we just talk about like last podcast we were talking about like stories. We went like from bidets.
I
to,
do like not segmenting it though, right? Don't you feel like that'd be too forced?
When it naturally comes, it's nice.
Yeah. We usually give. It feels like we give space usually at the beginning of every, like at the start of the show and after every break for like some chit chat.
Yeah.
So I
Like
don't
right
think
now.
we're off on it. Yeah, right now. Exactly. We're in the mode.
right
We're
now.
already in the lane.
Like I was gonna mention that I haven't heard that song in like
But
a long time.
While y'all play well, you should pay attention, but also talk in chat at the same time. Oh, fuck.
Did you haven't heard that song in a while, Michael?
Yeah, I haven't heard that song in a while.
I picked it out today because my coworker was he was playing it while we were closing, and I was like, oh wow, I haven't heard this song in a minute. So I was like, yeah, we'll play it for the stream tonight.
Any song that has a line about Bloomberg is hard. There's so many good fucking Bloomberg really fucked himself.
Yep.
Actually, maybe his whole goal was to be canonized in like as a rap. Maybe he's a big rap fan, and
Fuck
he's like,
Bloomberg,
maybe if I
that man absurd.
Yeah, fuck Bloomberg, that man of the best one's Tupac's though. I'm busting on Giuliani.
Oh.
That one's nice. God.
They rubbing my wrong.
Rudy Giuliani has managed to piss off people of almost every generation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he hasn't quit either. He's still around somehow, I think. He's Didn't we do his like cigar endorsement video?
Remember Bloomberg's Big Gay Ice Cream?
Oh my!
I love
forgot
big gay
about
ice cream.
You
Big
look
gay
that up.
ice cream.
Big gay ice cream, Michael Bloomberg.
I'll do it. It's not on YouTube.
No, I mean, do we? I was just recommending that for.
That's just funny.
I love big
It's
gay
so,
ice
it's like the pinnacle of pander, though. It's so bad.
But it's like, not only is it like pandering to the max, it's just terrible quality pandering. Like, he didn't try at all.
Yeah, that's why it's so bad. That's why it's so.
Like, like he's probably
He's the
sweating.
worst person ever.
Yeah.
Is it this one?
Do you remember that guy that went up to him at one of the caucuses or something? And he's like, he had like his phone video, and he's like, "Hey, Michael Bloomberg," or something like that. And Michael like looks at him, and then he's like, "Fuck you," or something, like right inches from his face. God.
Spoop, 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 spoop.
Did you
spoop.
find it?
I did. Right
Yeah, I
here.
put it in stuff. There was two. There was like one that was like a short
There's
one.
this one.
There's that one. Yeah, that one.
Which one's the good one? That's all that matters.
This one.
It was
the one
probably
I
the
did-
Twitter one because
the one I
it's
just sent.
cut short. It's like it's edited probably. Oh, I know.
You want me to play?
Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
seeing it.
play the Twitter one.
Yeah, this formed my brain. It's a critical moment.
Where's my ice cream? Ah, thank you. Big gay ice cream is the best.
You're never ready for it. God damn it.
Big gay ice cream.
It's the best.
Warm it up.
Where's my ice cream? Ah, thank you. Big gay ice cream is the best.
Alright, time to watch that in a year.
I never looked up big gay ice cream.
Yeah, the anniversary of this video passed not too long ago, actually.
I looked it up. It was some like local ice creamery or something in New
Big
York, I
gay
think.
ice cream.
An ice creamery?
A creamery. Yeah, isn't it just a creamery? Yeah. A
Yeah, it's
creamery.
just an
AKA
ice cream
me.
show.
Where in New York?
It
Yeah,
started as a seasonal
yeah.
food truck in 2009.
New York
Oh.
City, West Village and Upper West Side.
Oh, okay. So it's gentrified as fuck. Nice.
Oh, of
So
course.
it has multiple locations such as New York City and Philadelphia. Yeah. Oh no,
Is it
they-
in South?
oh.
Are they in South Philly though? I don't think so.
They're in Upper West Side on Columbus Ave, South Street Seaport, West Village, Madison
I
Square Garden. Yeah,
Jesus.
gentrified.
I think they only do like the ice cream truck thing. I don't think they.
No, they
an
have
actual-
they have brick and mortar.
Do
Who's
they?
buying that shit right now? No. That's a horrible business to have in New York.
Yeah, right. At wintertime, just trash.
Do people? Yeah. What the fuck? Do people eat ice cream in New York in the wintertime?
How fucking cold it gets, dude.
But it's
Yeah,
big
what
gay
the
ice cream.
fuck?
It's the best.
I mean, I guess if you're living in like the Upper West Side, you probably have like
Eat at home.
yeah, you can control the
Your
fucking
little
temperature of
bitch
your
like
home.
Michael Bloomberg, yeah.
Yeah, you
Wearing
can.
turtleneck.
Yeah,
want
you
big
can
gay
you
ice
can you
cream.
can sit in your comfy like heated apartment eating big gay ice cream.
Turtlenecks are hard though. Yeah.
What's extra hard?
Huh? Turtlenecks are hard. Turtlenecks.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
go hard.
I think Mike
Turtleneck.
Bloomberg has made so much money that like this is his attempt at actually being a genuine person.
Oh yeah. And
He actually enjoys the ice cream, but he's just such a fucking like hollowed out suit of a man. He
How
doesn't
can you fuck
understand.
up ice cream though? Like, come on.
It's like watching Hitler eat transgender spaghetti or something. Like it's so shocking to see a criminal.
Big trans Alfredo. I love big trans Alfredo.
Big trans Alfredo.
All right. Well, we want to get our second half kicked off.
Do you remember that before we go? Do you remember the fucking picture of Hitler? And it's just fucking Tom Brady is a good guy, and he's like during during the fucking Super Bowl, that was like going all over Twitter. It's just this. It's like little speech bubble over his face while he's Tom Brady is a good guy, or it's, I guess that should. Und Tom Brady is a good guy. I put on the accent. Yeah, it was so funny. I was crying.
Eli
Yeah.
Manning is our only hope.
Let's continue. Fuck Tom Brady. Jeff Bezos has a piss kink, and yeah, let's continue on.
We've outlined Jeff Bezos and his pissing habits on his workers trying to unionize.
God, yeah, that was so.
Dude,
That honestly put me in a down mood, but it's only gonna get worse. So let's keep going.
So we Jake, and I think you said the Vijay Prashad video.
Yeah, I don't know if we've done Vijay Prashad before, but he does good.
No, not on the
work.
show. But yeah, he's a.
Yeah,
Don't
he does
follow
all
him on
kinds of
Twitter
stuff.
though, because if you're up at like if you're up at like 4 a.m, he just does like this retweet bomb and just fills your timeline.
God.
I forget what nationality he is, but it's just like you'll see a bunch of. It's like 4 a.m, you're high as
His
shit.
time
And
zone's just not all right.
Is that when he's awake? Like,
yeah,
on his
it's like
side
4 or 5 in the
of
morning, and then it's just you're getting Twitter bombed with just foreign language, and I'm just.
It's the next day at like 12:30 a.m. or something.
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, anyway, he's super knowledgeable about Southeast Asia, the Middle East, and we've tried to give context to the coup in Myanmar because we don't really know. We initially didn't really know much about it, but our initial inclinations about what was going on seemed to be right. Imperialism 101, we pretty much guessed it, but I think he gives more analysis here, and it's interesting. So let's play it.
Let's go back to events which took place on February 1st of this year in Myanmar. That's when the military moved to arrest state councilor Aung San Suu Kyi, as well as other members of her National League for Democracy, or NLD, party. What was the pretext or justification for these actions?
Right. So the first thing that people should know is that Aung San was the state councillor based on an agreement made between the military in Myanmar, the opposition movements that had been built after the great saffron revolution, the protest movement of people who were young at that time, now 13, 14 years ago. It was an agreement also which involved Western capitals, including the United States of America. The Obama administration played a role in it later, but it was there, which enabled Aung San to become the state councillor based on a constitution which the military had written, the 2008 constitution. That constitution is an odd one because basically a quarter of the seats in the parliament are nominated by the military. So the military already has a quarter of the votes. Two key posts in any government, defense and internal affairs, or the home affairs ministry, will be held by the military. So the military actually controls the country, even if there's a so-called civilian government. Plus, in the constitution, Article 417 allows the military to intervene at any point. If they feel that there's a need for emergency, they intervene. Last year, there was an election. The current head of the military had hoped, that his party, the military party, would do well. And then when he retires his military post, he would come in essentially as the head of government. His party failed completely. They accused Aung San's party of basically fraud, electoral fraud. There's really no evidence of electoral fraud, even though Aung San's party won an enormous majority. And so the day on which the parliament, the vote had to be ratified and the parliament would then start to be seated, they moved and conducted, a coup against a government which is still dominated by the military, which is why I felt it was a coup, but not really a coup, because it's already been a military government since 1962.
Yeah, and you alluded to General Min Aung Hlaing.
Yeah, he's an interesting general, Anya. He's a really interesting and crucial person. This is a career military officer. Now, the thing to bear in mind in Myanmar is that after the military coup in 62, the military essentially has dominated all aspects of life. It's a lot like, let's say, the Egyptian military or the military in Pakistan, where it's not only, they don't only have their barracks and their camps and so on. They basically run most industrial activity, commercial activity, and so on. General Min Aung Hlaing's family basically dominates sections of the economy. They are highly tied in. There was also a slight tussle, if I can say this, between sections of the tycoons, the Burmese or Myanmarese tycoons, right after the arrest of Aung San, after this, coup, not coup. The military in Myanmar picked up 3 big tycoons who supported her government. People like Zaw, Chit Kyang, and others had been picked up and taken to undisclosed locations. They are being interrogated. General Min Aung Hlaing, he's not just a general. He's got these economic ties, but then, of course, actually quite disturbingly, he is the one who signed off on the Myanmar army's campaign against the Rohingya people, who are a population, live in Burma, have been in Myanmar for, as long as we know, and whose lands border Bangladesh. This has been a sustained campaign that many people have called genocidal. The Rohingya refugees have had to flee to Burma and to Bangladesh and to Malaysia and Thailand. They have been put under enormous pressure in their own lands. So, this general has himself been named in the activities, this genocidal activities against the Rohingyas. And of course, it's not just him. Aung San herself personally went to the International Criminal Court to defend the government of Myanmar. This, of course, totally sullied her reputation. So you have this military general, he's taken over, but let's not, be too quick to say there are any heroes here.
Yeah, you mentioned Aung San Suu Kyi's reputation. I remember years ago, she was heralded in Western media by Western governments. She was talked about as this hero and this leading figure of the movement for democracy in Myanmar. Can you give a little history of exactly who she is and how she went from rising as this international human rights icon to really falling out of...
We don't need to go too in depth, but more or less, she basically was put in there by the U.S. and in the same way that that general controls via the military basically all facets of life in the country, and he was empowered by the United States and other imperial powers. In the same way, the democratic movement of that president is as well. Like it's all bullshit. The alternative to the military coup is not like true democracy. Actually, it's just fucking neo-colonialism, neo-imperialism, where we just have a puppet rather than just like an outright fucking general. So it's I think now we've painted a picture of what this coup is, and it's like most coups, it's a moment for things to change in Myanmar. And it doesn't seem like it's that way, but who knows?
Yeah, and it's like, I guess going into like when this all first started happening, like we even said on the show, like we're still learning about it ourselves, things are still developing, but yeah, just as things continue to move on, the more like I guess the picture gets painted. It's just, I guess it's right in line with what we're used to, I guess.
Right, same old story. They're just in a different level from some of these other countries because they're still, like he said, since 1962, the military has completely controls the whole country. And it's like, from our lens, we might see them voting in like some democratic leader or something. We see that as like, oh, that's a significant change. And if that gets couped, like that's a bad thing, which it is. That's not a move towards something better, but the alternative is not good either, because they also signed off on the extermination of the Muslims there, among other things, and sell out to the imperial powers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Were you gonna?
No. You kind of said what I was gonna say right there.
I guess that's all I have on the Myanmar. I just wanted to, I haven't really heard much news on developments since then, so I just want to keep coming back to it since it was something that popped up. But another recent one has been the strikes in Haiti, although this has been ongoing for the last year or two, as we'll talk about. But in recent, they've been really protesting against U.S.-backed President Jovenel Moïse, who, same story, sells straight up to the, Western imperialist powers. And the Haitian people, they have a history of fighting against imperialism. And I think their mindset is really conditioned to combat this. And you really see that here. This interview is like incredible. Yeah, let's just play it so we get some context on Haiti, Moïse, the U.S. relationship with Haiti. We even learned, like, I didn't know there was such a relationship between Haiti and Venezuela too, like the internationalist solidarity of socialists, and that turn with Moïse, like he's really betrayed that legacy, and the people there really don't like that. So yeah, let's go get into it.
Welcome to Pushback. I'm Aaron Mate. Haitian President Jovenel Moïse is facing a wave of popular protest as he tries to cling to power. Moïse's term was supposed to expire earlier this month, but he says he really belongs in office for another year. In response, Haitians have taken to the streets in protest, and Moïse has cracked down, repressing demonstrations and rounding up opposition figures as well as a top judge. Although Haitians have taken to oppose Moïse's power grab, he does have one powerful ally. In Washington, the Biden administration has backed Moïse's claim that he can stay in office for another year, and even downplayed the scale of the protests against him. The Biden administration's support for Jovenel Moïse is in line with U.S. policy going back 2 centuries. For a long time, the U.S. has stood against popular movements in Haiti and in lockstep with right-wing forces. Well, joining me is Daoud Andre. He is a Haitian radio host and activist. Daoud Andre, welcome to Pushback.
Thank you, Aaron. Greet you and your audience.
So for people who have not been following what's been happening in Haiti, it hasn't gotten so much attention. Can you catch us up on what is behind the protests we're seeing right now?
Well, for some of us, Aaron, Jovenel Moïse never really had a mandate. Jovenel Moïse is a product of fraudulent elections that happened they were so bad in 2015, they had to be thrown out. They were done again in 2016. And to give you an example, even the electoral council that did this sham election, they say that in this country of 12 million people, only about 500,000 people voted for Jovenel Moïse. So this is someone that I'm a part of an organization called Comocoda. That's the Committee to Mobilize Against Dictatorship in Haiti. We've always used that fact as the basis to say that Jovenel Moïse is not the illegitimate president of our country, Haiti. In 2010, the year of the earthquake, the Democratic administration, U.S. administration of Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and the Clintons, Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State at the time, and I cannot not mention Bill Clinton, who Hillary had installed as head of the Earthquake Reconstruction Committee, all of them, they colluded to have a fraudulent election to place a degenerate, a man named Michel Martelly, Sweet Mickey, his stage name. People can look him up and see what his record was. But this was the person that the US administration had handpicked to lead Haiti. And we have to say, we call for the freedom, the liberation of Julian Assange. Because of his work at WikiLeaks, he allowed us to see the emails, inner workings coming up to this election and what happened afterwards, where you had Hillary Clinton congratulating her staff on doing such great elections. They're the ones who did this election. They picked the candidates that went to the second round, Milan Maniga and Michel Martelly. They called them the MMS. And they also picked the results. They decided what the results were. And Michel Martelly himself, with the collaboration of the US again, handpicked Jovenel Moïse that no one knew. They claimed he was a banana a farmer, which was false. They claimed he was an entrepreneur, which was false. But they set up the scenario that they needed to set up, and they installed him in power. So from the time Martelly was in power, there have been huge protests going on in Haiti, be it around the illegitimacy of these two individuals, around the corruption that was going on, to the point that Martelly assassinated a judge, Serge Joseph is his name, who was presiding over a corruption trial for his wife, Sophia Martelly, and his son, Olivier Martelly. So the people were protesting as well over jailings. People were, peasant leaders were put in jail, such as Mathilde Neslami, who was the vice president of COPI, Combit Paysan Ilavache. Ilavache is an island off the coast of Okai that the Martelly people and the US administration decided they wanted this island to be a tourist haven. And they were selling land on this island that was occupied by Haitians. And the president of COPI, eventually, Macdonald Lene, was assassinated himself by the Martelly government. So protests never stop. When Jovenel took over, protests continue. Here in New York, in our organization, Komokoda, we protested Jovenel's Moïse's installation on February 4th, 2017, before he was imposed on our people as president of the country. Huge protests happened in July 6th and 7th, 2018, when Jovenel tried to impose IMF austerity measures in the country. And for a while, Jovenel went into hiding. So now the present season and protests have not stopped since then, what they call the pays lock, where the country was completely locked down by the people. Now, what Jovenel has done with the support of the US administration is remobilize the Haitian army, parts of the Haitian army, certainly not the same people who were there before. He's organized the police that's there, which was already a police force that was created, funded, armed by the US government and trained by the Canadians into death squads. and gangs are federated in the country. There is something called the G9. It's a group of 9 gangs in different popular neighborhoods. And these are young men who, of course, have nothing, no jobs, there's no schooling, there's nothing for them to do. So the government, people in power, put guns, like machine guns, in their hands. And there have been multiple massacres in the popular neighborhoods. This is the places that are always form the bulk of demonstrations to oust Martelly, to oust Jovenel Moïse, to stand with the popular movement, especially President Aristide, who is still very popular in the country. And of course, as you said, he has the U.S., United States. He has the United Nations, the OA. Well, I cannot say he has. The U.S. has the UN, the OAS, and they used to call themselves the Friends of Haiti. But after the earthquake, they formed into this cabal. It's like a union called the Core Group. The Core Group in Haiti, this is the representatives of the UN Security, UN Secretary General, who's a puppet of the United States, the representatives of the OAS, that Fidel Castro called the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the United States, the ambassadors of the United States, Canada, France, European Union, Germany, Spain, and Brazil. So this is what has allowed Jovenel Moïse and Martelly to stay in power. And right now, this is the reason he is still there. So for us, for many of us in the opposition to the US policy in Haiti, Jovenel Moïse never had a mandate, but a part of the resistance of the opposition in Haiti, they are going by the constitution, a constitution that was amended by Michel Martelly, that says that his mandate was to end February 7th. And Jovenel Moïse says, no, it's 5 years. He came on in 2017, so he's going to give up power in 2022. The reality is Jovenel Moïse knows so well what's in this constitution that they are using, that last year he disbanded the parliament by the same rules that people are saying, the opposition is saying he must leave right now. So it was good for the parliament to get rid of the parliament, but it's not good for him. What we believe is that Jovenel Moïse has no intention to go anywhere. Jovenel Moïse is not going to be able to hold he says in April there will be a referendum and a new constitution, that what's coming out of this proposal right now is that he will be able to run for a consecutive mandate. We're looking at it is that Jovenel Moïse is planning to have another term and to keep power as long as he can, as long as his handlers, the people who are backing him up, Martelly called them the heavyweights, because Martelly said he doesn't care about protests in the streets of Haiti so long as the heavyweights support him. So long as the heavyweights support him, Jovenel Moïse plans to stay in power. Another point that I'd like to make around that is, unfortunately, many people, Haitians in and out of Haiti, especially out of Haiti, were deluded into thinking that Jovenel Moïse was a puppet of Donald Trump, whereas the reality is that Jovenel Moïse is a puppet of the United States government. As I said before, Martelly was installed by Barack Obama Joe Biden administration with Hillary Clinton as their Secretary of State. Jovenel Moïse, the election that he supposedly won was rigged under the same Democratic administration of Barack Obama and Joe Biden. So Joe Biden is a friend of puppets, US puppets all over the world, and folks watching this program certainly know what he said that he did in Ukraine to get, a prosecutor handling the case of his son fired. So we understand why Edward Price at the State Department 2 Fridays ago, 2 Fridays ago, Friday the 5th of February, made the statement on behalf of the Biden administration that Jovenel Moïse's term will end on February 7, 2022, effectively giving Jovenel Moïse the green light to arrest us.
So yeah, Ned Price, literally a state representative, is like saying, yeah, and I like that he makes that point too. He's like, hey, he's not like a puppet of some, like his personality is not like some puppet personality to Trump, just because he's some weird character like Trump also, and also has like authoritarian tendencies. The point is he's a puppet of the U.S. government, and nothing's gonna, with Trump gone, the same thing's gonna happen. These guys have been around.
Absolutely.
Does anyone think Trump's smart enough to pick out puppets?
I couldn't tell. It could have been just like his accent, but it sounded like he was like on the verge of like crying, like he was like choking up. But I don't know.
On some he was like laughing too.
Yeah, like I couldn't really tell, but like you can definitely tell that he's very like sincerely like passionate about like like addressing the issues of like what the fuck's going on.
When later they talk, because one of the big things about Jovenel to the past puppets is that he's gone out of his way to, because before even the other puppets maintained like a false solidarity with Venezuela, because Haiti and Venezuela have a long historic relationship as leading themselves out of towards decolonization, and even the puppets faked that relationship. But now with Jovenel, he's like openly calling for Guido to be the president, and Maduro's a dictator, all that nonsense. So that's a sad change to see. And to pair with all this, the Empire Files did I thought this was good because this shows all the recent history that Andre Dow was talking about, since 2010, the earthquake, the Clintons, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, now Joe Biden. This is good because it talks about the full history, not the decolonization, which we talked a little bit about, but really the period of recolonization, the United States stepping into Haiti. So I think all this is good historical background that we should, let's do it.
Yeah.
We can full screen this one. So
Major demonstrations continue to rock Haiti as protesters demand that U.S.-backed President Jovenel Moïse step down from office. On February 7th, his constitutional mandate to rule ended, but instead of holding new elections or stepping down, he's just staying put. For almost 2 years now, there have been daily mass protests demanding Moïse step down over extreme corruption, including the embezzlement of billions of dollars for social programs. These demonstrations have been met with severe violence, many times with the assistance of occupying United Nations troops. But while Haiti has drawn the attention of the world, it's a good time to revisit the history of not just how Moïse ended up in power, but how the American empire has determined the destiny of the Haitian people for generations. Haiti, once known as the crown jewel of the French Empire, was a center of the slave trade. But in 1791, an unprecedented slave revolution swept the island, driving out the French and then defeating the Spanish and British empires. During this war for liberation, America's noble founding fathers jumped into the fray. People like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and other slave-owning politicians rushed financial and political support to their slave-owning counterparts in Haiti. Against all empires, the Haitian people were victorious, and in 1804 established the first ever free Black Republic. In those early years of Haitian independence, the United States had barely started to become an empire. In the late 19th and 20th century, after completing the vicious colonization of native land from coast to coast, this baby empire took its first steps as a territorial empire. In 1915, U.S. Marines invaded Haiti. The first act of the invading Marines was to seize all the gold from Haitian banks and transfer it to the National City Bank of New York. All of Haiti's banks were put under the control of American banks. The United States announced that Haiti was now under the rule of a new constitution, a constitution written by Franklin D. Roosevelt, who of course was not Haitian. This new constitution allowed the purchase of Haitian land by foreign capitalists, which began immediately. But with revolution in their blood, the Haitian masses fought back against this new colonial rule. The most famous and beloved leader in the anti-occupation movement was Charlemagne Perrault. So the U.S. Marine Corps hunted down Perrault, executed him, tied his dead body to a door, and paraded it through the streets of Haiti for all to see. They had a photographer capture an image of the national hero's mutilated corpse, put it on a leaflet, and dropped thousands of them from airplanes all across the island. American rule of Haiti began with acts of sheer terrorism like this. The U.S. military occupied Haiti and ruled it as an outright colony for 20 years. But colonial rule gave way to neo-colonialism, where the United States installed total puppets, but with rigged elections so they could pretend to be supporters of democracy. But even that was short-lived. In the 1950s and the 30 years that followed, the United States gave up on the veneer of democracy and backed the brutal dictatorship of the Duvalier dynasty. This was total fascist rule. Suspension of elections, suspension of all political rights, no free press, thousands of political prisoners subject to brutal torture, and the use of assassinations and executions against activists and organizers, including massacres of entire villages identified as anti-Duvalier that entire time. The United States supported the dictatorship with aid and protection from U.S. Marines. In exchange, U.S. corporations were able to use Haiti as a sweatshop, with slave-like labor laws and free reign over its resources. Following the end of the U.S.-backed Duvalier dictatorship in 1986, the Haitian people have twice elected left-wing liberation theologian Jean-Bertrand Aristide president. The first time was in 1990, but just 8 months after he took office and committed the crimes of things like raising the minimum wage from $1 a day to $2.50 a day, the CIA orchestrated a coup that removed him from power. During the coup, US-backed forces massacred hundreds of unarmed Aristide supporters protesting the regime change operation. Washington installed a World Bank stooge in his place. But Aristide would return and win the presidential election again in the year 2000. He continued social reforms that made it harder for American corporations to use Haiti as the most destitute, hyper-exploited sweatshop possible. So in 2004, the CIA planned and executed another coup. U.S. Marines again invaded Haiti, kidnapped Aristide from his home, and took him out of the country.
Hold on a second. Hold on for a second, please. President Aristide resigned. He has left his country. The Constitution of Haiti is working. It's the beginning of a new chapter in the country's history. Would urge the people of Haiti to reject violence, to give this break from the past a chance to work, and the United States is prepared to help. Thank you.
UN troops replaced American forces as political cover. and they remain until this day
We
under the
fucked your
guise of
country.
providing aid.
Don't revolt.
When I went to Haiti as a journalist in 2012, there were UN troops everywhere, patrolling streets and manning security towers. And for a country that's so rich in resources and receives billions of dollars in aid, the level of extreme poverty was shocking. Both the UN occupation and the economic catastrophe fuel the protest movement today. Aristide's ouster in 2004 began another era of rotating US puppets ruling Haiti. In 2011, US-backed candidate Michel Martelly came in third place in the election, but the United States, using its tool, the Organization of American States, installed him as president anyway. Current besieged president Jovenel Moïse is Michel Martelly's predecessor and close ally, appointed by him to be the presidential candidate in 2015. In an election with only 20% voter turnout, Moïse supposedly received 32% of the vote. However, an investigation by journalists at the Haiti Sentinel found that Moïse likely received just 6% of the vote. But despite clear evidence of fraud, he was declared president anyway. Today, he remains in office despite his term ending.
So yeah, there you see that all this stuff recently is just, it's nothing new. It's just part of a long, drawn out history and struggle where the United States is stomping on Haiti.
It's all it's all an extension of the same beast, which is, colonialism.
Yes, and we should expect nothing new from Joe Biden. And we have one more clip to finish out this, and then we can talk about it.
My mic was muted. I was just trying to say, like, that's literally what the U.S. does in the first place, is just stomp on other countries for no fucking reason.
Well, no,
For all the
good
fucking
reason.
reasons.
Remember,
Yeah.
exploit
Remember,
the resources.
she talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They free cheap labor there.
The
They
first
use those
thing is
sweatshops.
control their money.
Yeah, they took all their gold and put it in the Bank of New York.
This gold is our gold now. We have decided expropriation. This is our gold now, and go fuck yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sadly there's no Bitcoin back. No, okay.
Well, you see, they're just going off of the rules as the country was previously a slave country, owned by the powers that be. And so when they revolted and got rid of their owners, we were simply just coming in and resetting the balance by taking all their gold.
Well, leading with that, now we have Joe Biden as president, but I had never seen this video, and this is actually, I got this from that Andre Dowd interview, they play it later, where he talks about Haiti, and I just thought this clip was interesting. We already know Biden's actual policy moves towards Haiti, which is backing the same neo-colonialism, but here's some comments from the man himself before he went full dementia.
A leading editor of a paper in the Delaware Valley asked their reporters to come down and talk to me and said, why is Biden so concerned about Bosnia and not about Haiti? Is it because blacks are involved in Haiti? Blacks are what at stake in Haiti, and in Bosnia they are Europeans, whites. There is major arsenals of nuclear weapons where they have long histories of national wars where ethnicity dominates. That is a phenomenal potential consequence of the United States. If Haiti, a god-awful thing to say, if Haiti just quietly sunk into the Caribbean or rose up 300 feet, it wouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of our interest.
Doesn't the world
Wouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of our interests. So what a
Biden
fucking
looks and
disdain.
sounds so different.
Yeah, he's there.
Fucked them up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just like, what a thing to fucking say.
Yeah.
What did he lead his sentence with? It's a goddamn thing to say. Well, then don't say it, motherfucker.
Listen, I'm going to say something that might be controversial. What year are we in? I don't care about the blacks.
Matter a lot of our interests. To a lot of our interests.
Yeah, isn't that just a whole map? It doesn't matter if all the Haitians die or they don't. It doesn't matter to our interest. Clearly, it does matter to our interest because we took them over so that we could have sweatshops there.
And I want to
no one's ever gonna hear me say this, so I'll just say it.
Another I guess like layer to this is like this was on like national television. And a bunch of people probably were like, yeah. And I
Or
think
just
that's something.
tweet Biden. Yeah.
I think that's something to say about like, yeah, just like the lack of how like empty like the working classes and the lack of international solidarity. Like the fact that Joe Biden, even back then, can get away with saying that, and most people, like I said, like a bunch of people probably just nodded their heads when he said that. Is like,
Sure.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, we don't have
And
that kind of solidarity.
and the arm that is the American propaganda machine to normalize what they did in Haiti.
Well, because Biden understands that the average American citizen has no clue that any of this stuff has happened.
Right. I think that's what they're banking on, is that lack of education too, which they've also systemically imposed on us. But yeah, people don't know the history of Haiti, so how can they assume Biden's statement is anything, less than true?
Well, if you think about like the just general U.S. propaganda, I mean, most people in the U.S. like never even leave the country, for one. So let alone you never even have the chance to talk to someone who's actually affected by our imperialism. Which, it's lucky we have the internet that we can even hear the people actually speak about the experiences that they faced.
Yeah.
Right. It's one thing to read about Haiti, but yeah, I mean, that's why I wanted to bring the Andre Dowd one, because it was like, it's a different experience. Like Michael was saying, you could hear the emotion in his voice that just brings a different tone and education to it.
Definitely. And yeah, like I think what Carlos said there was huge. Like, yeah, like without the internet, I mean, obviously this wouldn't have, none of this would be happening in the first place, but yeah, like we wouldn't, the amount of history that I guess the United States would be able to whitewash, like the lack of information.
It would just continue like they were already doing before.
Yes, and we can use it as a tool for like international solidarity, not as the actual means, but as like an interlocutor or something. Like that's what we try to be, like a connecting piece, right?
Yeah, a way to get you guys the news.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a lot of shit, like even what he said back in whenever this was recorded, would not slide in today's. It's just like way back then, like social media was like it wasn't even like heard of. Like, it wasn't like a thing.
Non-existent.
It was hard for politicians' word to get around. Now it can easily get around, and just I think
the disgusting thing though is he says the same things now. You're right. He can't say it the way he says it. It's the same thing now, just said different.
It's just said exactly differently, and I can't imagine like how many other people have said, which has happened in history, like other politicians saying shit that just didn't get to the public's eye.
Oh yeah.
But if that was said nowadays, it would not like slide whatsoever, is what I'm trying to get at.
Well,
and I think Eian, did you mention that just like a second ago? You said like something about like social media. And,
like just everything.
Because that's what I got from that.
Well, think about how the government is constantly trying to push authoritative news sources, like large corporate outlets who, if they don't have a direct hand in these countries themselves, they either know someone or they straight up benefit by their means of coverage of this kind of stuff, but just simply not talking about it, or when they do talk about it, like frame it from the perspective of like the earthquake that happened in Haiti and how we're giving them billions of dollars in aid to help them. But I mean, look at the footage there. Like the country is still just as desolate as before the earthquake. And so it's not like the aid that we're giving them is helping the people. It's helping the authoritarian government maintain power and military control.
I'd be interested to know how much money we owe them in that gold we took. I'd be interested to know how much that is now.
I mean, it's plus all the other stuff, it's incalculable, right?
Yeah.
So how do you think the U.S. became the wealthiest country on earth?
Yeah, take from everyone else. Absolutely. We have one more video, yeah?
No. We're gonna save that.
Okay,
we're gonna save that one. That was the last.
So with that, then I think does anyone have like any solid? Yeah, once again, solidarity with Haiti. This was kind of like our international half to the show.
Mhm.
That half, if you like any of our shit, yeah, we're here every Wednesday and Sunday. It's 10:30 p.m.
Yep.
Pacific time.
I just wanted to speak a little on like authoritative news sources like
Yes.
like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, because it's like well, outlets like that, it's obvious the kind of perspectives that they're going to cover and that they're going to push, which is why we need more independent media outlets like the Gray Zone and others that can actually give us counter narratives to this stuff that we've just been kind of whitewashed to believe. And also, yeah, it shows why the U.S. and like even on social media now, which is becoming like a partnership tool of the U.S. government, they all push authoritative news outlets too. Like on YouTube, they demonetize, they delist independent outlets who they can't control or they can't guarantee what narrative is going to come out of their mouth.
Yes.
And now, yeah, I mean, even same with like on Twitter too. I mean, they'll start putting disclaimers on shit that they don't like what you're saying.
Yeah.
RT is a company based in Moscow, Russia.
Spoop Podcast is a company based in Kiev, Ukraine.
Oh shit!
Damn.
They take.
Oh yeah, I
money
forgot
from
to
the
disclose
Burisma
that
company.
Putin is my uncle.
I always knew it.
My
he
grandfather,
looked like
Thomas
Putin.
Sankara.
God. They're gonna don't say that. They'll definitely come after you.
Yeah, I would have been real. I'd be real dead.
Acid bath.
What are your ties with Putin?
Yeah, that was a joke. U.S. government, in case you couldn't tell.
I think that was well said though, Carlos. We do have to build. That's our project. Build the counter narratives, right?
Well, we need more. I mean, we need more voices in news.
Yeah.
I mean,
this is
actual
all one
independent
vote.
voices, not just like what do you say, like corporate outlets just hiring independent news journalists and just giving them a feed of what to say.
Grassroots, maybe. Or, actually in the struggle with us.
Yeah.
All right, well, do you guys want to take it out of here?
Yeah, that's the show. That's everything. If you enjoyed what you saw, whether it be the international stuff, whether it be the joking around in between, whether it be the Amazon coverage, whatever it is, if you enjoyed it, you can support us by following us. If you are watching without an account, creating an account and dropping a follow is huge. Because, it just means you're more likely to come back and hang out with us more. If you want to support us further, support us further. Holy shit! Support us further. You can drop a subscription. It's $4.99. Or if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can link that to your Twitch and get a free Amazon Prime sub. Costs you no extra money, and it only helps us. Yeah, Leo, I literally can't speak. But yeah, we really appreciate everything. We'll be back here on Wednesday. Wednesday. We'll be back on Wednesday with another episode, 10:30 p.m.
We'll be here on Wednesday.
I didn't know what day it was. Okay,
You got Michael disease.
Why don't you fuck off?
Michael
I
disease is
don't
when
mean
you try to say someone's name and you cycle like 13 names.
You cycle through 13 different names until you get the actual real name.
And Michael just put in chat the socials link, which will take you to all of our social media. And if you don't want to click that and you're just listening, everything is at Spoop Podcast, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, everything. At Spoop Podcast, Spotify.
Is it really?
Yeah, don't fucking worry about it. At Spoop Podcast, everything.
Here, real quick, before you end the show, I just thought I'd make kind of one more connection on what we were talking about.
No.
It kind of made me realize why groups like Sinclair buy up a lot of like local news, or USA Today buys up a lot of local newspapers. It's all to help control that narrative. It's not like out of the generosity of their hearts that they want to donate and help support local news to keep it flourishing. They want
to take them
control.
over. They silence them, if anything.
That's why the VC Star looks like the same as their website looks exactly the same as almost every other quote unquote local news outlet all over the country.
You can see that with like all the big papers that are in like all the big cities too that have been bought up. Like back in the 60s and before that, like they all did crazy good work. But then as soon as they got bought up, like none of those small papers do. They're all just stooges now.
I mean, clearly they'll tell you the news, but
yeah, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it's of the ownership really shows through at the end of the day.
No. All right, fam.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
That's all I got.
That's the end of everything. We're going to get out of your face now. Say it at the end of every show. It's very important that we have international solidarity with all the workers all over the world, because we can't have a true socialist movement. We can't have true freedom until everybody's free. No matter where you live, no matter what job you work, everybody needs to have the opportunity to, not the opportunity, everybody must have, a decent living, like no matter what you do. At the end of the day, no matter what situation you're in, you should be able to go to a home that keeps you warm, that keeps you dry. You should have clothes on your back. You should have, food in your stomach.
Power.
And you should have a job that pays you enough to, not just survive. You should have a job that pays you enough to live. And that's what we're all working towards. Whether you're, the gray zone in an independent media outlet, whether you're a bunch of dipshits doing a little podcast, sharing news with each other. All of it. It's all working towards the same goal of international solidarity with all workers. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And we will be back Wednesday, 10:30 p.m. Please be there. We always have a good show for you guys. And we will see you guys then. Goodbye.